Do you ever feel as if there just aren't enough hours in a day? Do you feel that you're constantly spinning your wheels at work? That you're working as hard as you can but not making much headway? Many of us do. This presentation will give you the principles, strategies, and tools to take control of your time. Before we go any further, there's some good news and some bad news. The bad news first. The bad news is time flies. The good news is you're the pilot. Having employees who manage their use of time well definitely benefits the organization. But being more in control of your time has benefits for you personally. When you take control of your time, you'll be more effective in your work because you'll be better able to focus on important tasks. And when unexpected situations arise, you'll be better equipped to address them in a way that doesn't derail your schedule completely. As you gain experience and skill at controlling your time, you'll benefit from a reduced level of stress. Finally, as you experience the benefits just mentioned, your feeling of satisfaction with your own performance will increase. There are many common barriers to effective time use. We can categorize them into external and internal factors. External factors are typically not of your making. These include distractions and interruptions. Although you can't control the presence of all distractions and interruptions, you can learn how to minimize their effect on your time. Internal factors are almost entirely under your control because they represent habits or consistent behaviors you've adopted. While these habits don't make you a bad person or a failure, they do sabotage your best intentions to be productive in your work. Let's see how you can overcome these barriers to get into control of your time. You can't really manage time. Every minute has 60 seconds and every hour equals 60 minutes. What you can do is manage how you use the time you have. We'll address how to overcome the most common barriers to effective time use by starting with the foundation of using time effectively: having a plan. To help you get started as a more effective user of time, you need to understand how you're using your time currently. Keep track of your time for a few days, or better yet, a week. Record every activity you do. Include everything: patient treatment, documentation, trips to the bathroom, phone calls, impromptu conversations, as well as meetings, lunch breaks, and sending faxes or emails. Write down the time you start each activity. Record each activity as you're doing it. Relying on your memory at the end of the day won't be as accurate. Record what the value of the activity was. You can evaluate that by how much it contributed to your meeting your goals. Also, include a note about how you felt at the time: energetic, tired, alert, hungry, and so on. Once you've got a week's worth of time logs, take a look and see what patterns emerge. You may already know that you get a lot of interruptions in your day. Your time log will help you see whether there are patterns to those interruptions. For example, you may see that most interruptions occur during a certain time period, or that Monday had twice the interruptions of Thursday. You'll also be able to see how your energy level changes throughout the day. Later in the presentation, I'll show you a form you can use to track your time use. In addition to helping you identify patterns, your time log will be a good resource to help you plan how much time you need for certain tasks. The most basic but very effective way to get a handle on making good use of your time is to make and use a to-do list. Many of us approach work, or even our weekends, with a mental list of tasks we need to accomplish or activities we'd like to participate in. Keeping a list in your head is a good start, but to be truly effective and helpful, your to-do list must be written down. It must be specific. You can start creating a to-do list by writing down everything that takes up your time at work. This is where your time log comes in. As you create your to-do list, break any large tasks into the individual steps you must complete to accomplish the task. Writing down each step will help you make realistic estimates for how much time a large task will take. For example, if you write only complete weekly analysis on your to-do list, it appears as one item, making it easy to underestimate the complexity of the task. But when you list each component of the task, it becomes clear that the activity of completing the weekly analysis may take more time than you think. Because you've identified each step in the larger task, you can schedule the smaller tasks to be done when you have a few extra minutes, decreasing the amount of time you'll need to complete the whole activity once you sit down to do it. Once you have a list of all the tasks to complete, you can prioritize them. Then you can reorder your list to complete each task in order of priority. If you find you have too many tasks with high priority, go through your list again and reprioritize. There are lots of methods to prioritize your to-do list. I'm going to talk about a couple of them next. One way to put your task in priority order is to use a simple ranking system. For example, you can grade each task in order of importance by using a system we're all familiar with, grades of A through F. You can also rank from 1 through 5 in order of importance. This kind of ranking is based only on the importance of the task. The next system we'll look at considers both importance and urgency. The idea of measuring and combining these two competing elements in a matrix has been attributed to both former U.S. President Eisenhower and Dr. Stephen Covey. Eisenhower's quote, "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important," sums up the concept of the matrix perfectly. The matrix is a powerful tool for prioritizing tasks or activities. It can be used while you're planning your daily or weekly tasks, or it can be used on the spot, such as when something unexpected comes up in your day. By training yourself to think about both urgency and importance, you can become more effective in the use of your time. What's the difference between importance and urgency? One difference is based on whether an activity will lead to getting your goals accomplished or whether it will lead to getting something done for someone else. Because urgent activities demand immediate attention, they can easily detour you from the path to meeting your goals unless you can deal with them in a way that keeps you on track. Urgent activities aren't necessarily the bad guys, but they can feel like the bad guys if you don't have a strategy for handling them. The urgent important matrix helps you prioritize the items on your to-do list by helping you separate which activities are most important or urgent and which activities are really distractions. The matrix is organized into quadrants that represent different degrees of importance and urgency. For example, critical activities, those that have to get done and by a deadline, fall in the important and urgent quadrant. Activities that are neither important nor urgent are really just distractions. To use the matrix, you need your to-do list, that list of everything that takes up your time at work. Then you assign importance to each activity. Think only about importance at this stage. Important activities or tasks are those that must be done in order for you to meet your job responsibilities. Some examples are scheduling personnel and patients, patient treatments, completing required reports, and approving payroll. The next step is to evaluate the urgency of each task. Now, considering both importance and urgency, plot each activity on the matrix in the quadrant that represents the combined importance and urgency. Then you can schedule your activities based on the priorities you've established. Let's take a closer look at the urgent important matrix and how to assign priorities by using it. The highest priority status goes to activities that are both urgent and important. There are two types of urgent and important activities: those you could not have foreseen and those that you've left to the last minute. If you have a lot of activities that are both urgent and important, identify ones that could have been foreseen. look at scheduling similar activities ahead of time so that they don't become urgent. The next level of priority goes to activities that are urgent but not important. These are interruptions, most likely caused by other people, like your colleagues, your supervisor, visitors, or residents and family members. Some interruptions can be avoided by letting everyone know when you're available and when you're not. But some interruptions can't be avoided, so you need to plan time in your day for them. If you expect interruptions, they don't seem as destructive to your day. We'll talk later about how you can manage some interruptions so that their impact on your day is minimized. Two options are rescheduling or delegating these kinds of activities. The next priority level is for activities that are important but not urgent. These activities comprise aspects of your job that must be done in order for you to meet the responsibilities of your role. These are must-do activities. As you're scheduling your time, make sure you include a realistic amount of time to complete these activities and that you complete them on time. If you don't, these activities become both important and urgent. Interruptions will inevitably occur, so schedule time for interruptions. The final matrix quadrant covers those activities that are neither urgent nor important. These activities are simply distractions. These distractions may be introduced by other people, but they could be self-generated as well. For example, checking personal email or stopping to chat with a colleague may be something you'd like to do, but that doesn't move you toward accomplishing your goals. Later in the presentation, you'll learn some techniques for avoiding or averting distractions caused by other people. Here's an example of what an important urgent matrix might look like for daily tasks. Taking the time to categorize your activities will help you schedule them appropriately. You can see that most of the activities fall in the important but not urgent quadrant. These are the must-do activities. For a rehab director especially, the important and urgent quadrant will have those unexpected events that pop up from time to time. This matrix shows some typical interruptions in the urgent but not important quadrant, as well as some common distractions. The final step in planning how you'll use your time is to assign a time to each activity on your list. If you've kept a time log of how your time has actually been spent over the course of several days or a week, pull it out and use it to help you gauge realistic time frames for each activity. Make sure you include time for interruptions and for breaks. Obviously, you don't know exactly when an interruption is going to occur, but you can add an extra 5 or 10 minutes to some of your tasks, knowing that you may not use all the time on the designated task. Because you've allowed extra time for interruptions, you probably won't feel as stressed when they pop up. Do schedule breaks in your day. Even a break of a minute or two to stretch, take a short walk, and clear your mind will help you maintain your focus when you get back to work. Once you've prioritized your activities and assigned the amount of time required to accomplish each one, you can create a schedule. The key to effective scheduling is to do it on a regular basis. Some people may be able to set a schedule only once a month. Others may need to schedule daily. The first step is to identify the amount of time you have available. Even if you're scheduling every day, consider the time you have in a week or a month. You may be able to spread some tasks across several days or weeks. Start by blocking in the activities that you absolutely must accomplish. These will typically be your primary job responsibilities and duties, those things by which your job performance is measured. Include the essential maintenance tasks, those things that you can't delegate and can't avoid. Your must-do activities will come from the top 2 quadrants of the important urgent matrix. If you're using a simple ranking system, these activities will be the ones you've ranked as A's or 1s. Allow time to communicate with key people around you, your supervisor, your staff, the administrator, or ED. Now schedule appropriate contingency time, the extra time you'll need to deal with interruptions. You'll learn by experience how much contingency time you need. Keeping a time log is a good way to really nail it down. You may find that some days of the week or the month require more contingency time than others. Obviously, you can't predict interruptions, but by having time for them in your schedule, you'll have the flexibility to rearrange your time to react effectively to issues that arise. Here's a sample schedule that illustrates how to assign specific periods of time to each activity or task in your day. In this example, extra time has been built in to allow for interruptions. For example, notice that there's a 5-minute gap between the time Mr. Jones' therapy ends and the time therapy with Ms. Walker begins. The hour between 10 and 11 is scheduled for Mrs. Stanley in her apartment. Her treatment will only be 45 minutes, but there are extra minutes to account for the walk to and from her apartment and later interruptions or a short break. Reading email and answering phone messages may not require the full 30 minutes from 12:30 until 1. Again, these are extra minutes that can be used elsewhere in the day if you get off track, or you can tackle a quick task. A written plan in the form of a schedule is just that, a plan. It's not a guarantee that everything will go smoothly. In fact, you can more safely bet that there will be obstacles to keeping on track with the schedule you've made. But there are strategies for handling these potential time wasters. That's what we'll cover next. We've talked about planning for interruptions in your scheduling. By allowing time for interruptions, you build into your schedule the flexibility to deal with them. Now we're going to look at how you can make a decision about which interruptions should be addressed and which ones are simply distractions that don't warrant your time. Go back to your time log and review it for interruptions. Think about which interruptions were valid and which weren't. For example, if you have a staff meeting to discuss company policy changes scheduled for 12:30 and a staff member comes to your office at 10:15 to ask you what the policy changes are, this is not a valid interruption. Why isn't it? Because the information will be available to the staff member at 12:30. Now consider the urgency of the interruptions. Could any of the interruptions have been avoided or preempted? If a common source of interruptions are questions about the same topic, perhaps routine communication about that topic would reduce the questions. When people know that there is a specific and regular time to get information, they'll learn to hold non-urgent issues until that time. When you're interrupted in the middle of an activity, it not only robs you of time, it also breaks your focus. That means you'll have to spend some time getting back in the flow of what you were doing. As you go about scheduling your time, take steps to protect it by doing what you can to avoid interruptions. Remember, it's your time and you are in control of how you use it. If the phone is a consistent source of interruptions, there are a couple of strategies you can use to reduce the impact. One option is to let the call go to voicemail and respond to the call at a later time, the time you've scheduled for returning phone calls. This can be especially effective if you're in the middle of a task that you need to complete by a deadline. If you can work uninterrupted, you'll complete the task in the shortest amount of time, and the quality of your work will be better too. Rather than letting calls go to voicemail, arrange for someone else to answer the phone while you're completing your important task. And if the call is for you, have them take a message. It's okay to say no to someone when you're busy, especially if the request is for something that's not important, can be done later, or can be done by someone else. The trick is to be polite. Here are some ways to say yes to the person, but no to the task. Saying no to a request shouldn't be seen as a refusal to help. So you want to give a response that will leave the other party feeling as if you have done something, even if you haven't agreed to do what was asked. Of course, you need to take a moment to make sure that the request is something that could be done later, done by someone else, or isn't important. When responding, Be courteous and sincere. Offer a short explanation rather than just saying no. Here are some examples of ways to say no to the task while saying yes to the person. Think about the kinds of requests that come to you on a regular basis. Develop some responses so you can say no when it's appropriate. An effective way to avoid interruptions is to communicate to your coworkers when you are available and when you aren't. You could establish a standard schedule, say between 2:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon, when your coworkers know that during that time they should only interrupt you if they have to. Or you could establish a signal to indicate that you're unavailable. It could be an object that you place on your desk, like a brightly colored cup. When the cup is on your desk, everyone will know that you are temporarily unavailable. You might want to establish set times to talk to your staff or other people at work whom you speak to on a regular basis. Ask those people to keep a running list of things you need to discuss so you can cover them all at one time. Schedule the meeting to occur in a conference room or the other person's office so you can excuse yourself when the allotted time has been reached. Despite your best planning and strategies, there are some interruptions you can't avoid. While you can't control the fact that the interruption occurs, you can control the impact it has on your time. If you can't delay addressing the issue, then set parameters and stick to them. When someone enters your workspace with an interruption, don't invite him to sit down. If you're sitting, you might stand up. Avoid chit-chat and encourage the person to get right to the point. When your 5 minutes are up and the issue isn't resolved, set a time to continue the conversation. Honor your appointment for later and stick to the time you've agreed to. Procrastination is a product of indecision. The indecision is often fueled by one of several factors: not liking the task or activity, being unsure how to complete it, or being afraid of failing at the task. Here are some ways to overcome these reasons for procrastination. If you're delaying tackling a necessary task because you don't like it, the primary remedy is to just do it. Put the task on your to-do list and schedule time for it. Think about scheduling the task at the time of day when you have the most energy. Break the task down into components and tackle the easiest ones first. Each component you complete will build your momentum to push you through to the end. Focus on how good it will feel to have it over with. You'll probably save a lot of time trying to figure out how to start and complete the task at hand if you ask for help from the beginning rather than trying to go it alone. Better yet, if it's something someone else can do, let her. Get over thinking that you're the only person who should do everything. You don't have to hand over every part of the task. Think about splitting the task into parts and share the load. If fear of not doing the task perfectly is stopping you from even starting, adjust your expectations. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Strive for excellence, not perfection. Really, nobody's perfect, and that includes you. Just do it already. Time can be leveraged, just as money can. By leveraging time, you earn more time to accomplish the tasks that need to be completed. Leveraging time makes your time more productive. You can leverage time in two ways: by leveraging the time available to you and by leveraging the time of others. By employing the strategies and habits we've been talking about, planning and scheduling your time, and practicing good time management, you're leveraging your own available time to improve your effectiveness. But how can you leverage the time of others to make your whole team more effective and more efficient? We've already looked at delegation as a way to get assistance in managing your own time, but it's worth repeating that appropriately assigning tasks to others is like a 2-for-1 special. You get to cross off an item on your to-do list without devoting any of your available time to the task. Now that's effective and efficient. As with most examples of financial leverage, to get a reward from leveraging other people's time, You often have to make an investment. Teaching your staff how to complete tasks that have historically fallen to you pays a dividend well worth the time it takes. Don't limit your training to physical tasks or activities. Think about people skills. Share what you've learned about customer service, interpersonal communication, or how to run an effective meeting. Delegation of tasks will only work if you actually allow the other person to complete the activity. Frequently checking their efforts or progress because you want to be sure they're doing it correctly is micromanaging. If you've verified that the person has the wherewithal to take on a task you've delegated, then leave her to it. She'll get done more quickly because she won't have you as an interrupter, and you'll get the full benefit of leveraging your time. Maybe you've heard the term helicopter mom, used to refer to a parent who sends a son or daughter off to college, then constantly hovers by visiting campus frequently, calling the student's professors, or calling the student every day. This behavior is disruptive, and it doesn't help the student learn to function on his or her own. Avoid being a helicopter boss. An important factor in making your time work for you is to create an environment that supports your work. Your workspace should be arranged in a way that makes sense and supports your workflow. Keep your work area clean and uncluttered, and know where items or information that you use or need often are located. If necessary, restore your workspace to its work-ready status at the end of each day. All of us have times of the day during which we have more energy than others. For many people, that time of day is morning, but for others it may be afternoon. Identify when your high energy times are and put them to good use. Schedule the big tasks, or the tasks you dread the most, for your high energy periods. You'll be more efficient and more effective in getting those tasks accomplished. Think about what motivates you to do your best work. Then create an environment that supports it. As you gain more control over your time, your stress level will likely decrease, leading to a feeling of positive energy, helping you to get in the flow. When you feel positive, your efforts reflect it. A positive attitude and approach leads to more energy. As you continue to put these principles of time control to use, the whole plan will improve itself, giving you more confidence as you become more effective and efficient. Plus, you'll present the example of a competent time manager and contribute to a more positive perspective for your entire team. Are you a multitasker and proud of it? Many of us believe that doing 2 or more activities at once increases our efficiency. The fact is that we can't really do 2 things at the same time. At best, we can switch between tasks. Research on the subject of multitasking has demonstrated repeatedly that rather than improving productivity, switching back and forth between tasks actually decreases productivity. Furthermore, the habit of multitasking a lot actually reduces the brain's ability to apply laser focus to a single task. Staying focused on your schedule is critical to being effective and productive. For some people, this means never taking a break. The fact is that breaks are essential to maintaining your focus and energy, and it doesn't have to be a long break. Research has shown that even breaks as short as 30 seconds, micro breaks, improved mental acuity by an average of 13%. So give yourself a break. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, stretch for a minute or 2, and renew your energy. The adage about the tail wagging the dog is an apt description of what happens when you don't have a plan for how to use your time. Before you know it, you're reacting to disruptive events by moving away from your own goals and using your time on whatever the latest crisis or interruption is. This will leave you feeling overwhelmed and burned out. The habits and strategies we've covered today will help you get control of your time use. Let's review some key concepts and techniques to get you on your way to more effective time use. The first step is to understand how you're using your time right now. Keep a log of what you're doing in 15-minute increments. Write down every interruption, meeting, patient treatment, all your trips to the bathroom, everything. Keep a log for a week so you can identify patterns across days. Once you understand how you're using your time currently, you can make a plan to use it differently. Create a to-do list of all the tasks and activities you need to accomplish in the course of your work day, work week, and month. Then prioritize them so you'll be able to schedule them according to priority and the amount of time needed to complete them. Finally, get started using your new time control skills right away. I think you'll be amazed at what you learn about yourself, your work environment, and your habits. More than that, as you begin to think in terms of being in control of your time rather than being powerless in the face of deadlines and interruptions, I think you'll begin to feel better about everything you accomplish in a day, a week, or a month. Here's a list of the tools you'll need to get you on the path to controlling your time. You'll find templates for the activity log, a prioritized to-do list, and the urgent important matrix on the intranet in the Education and Training section. There are many formats for scheduling your time. You may use your Outlook calendar, a paper schedule, or a smartphone app. Whatever format you choose, don't be without a written schedule. Having a written schedule with time allotted for every activity is essential to effective time control. There's nothing left to do but to get started. At the end of this presentation, download the tools I just mentioned and start practicing time control techniques right away. The sooner you begin, the sooner you'll reap the rewards of being in control of your time.